Hi guys, we are going to get through lesson 2.4 today. This lesson is on rotations. So we're going to fill in our vocab first. A rotation or a turn is a transformation in which a figure is rotated about a point. That means around a point. And that point is called the center of rotation. The number of degrees a figure rotates is called the angle of rotation. And we're going to see angles of rotations that are 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees. A full turn would be 360 degrees, so it wouldn't even be worth rotating because it's not going to look any different. But that's what a 360-degree turn is, or a rotation is. Okay, when you are doing a rotation, you want to keep in mind that the original figure and its image, that's the new one, are congruent. So that means they are the same shape and the same size. They're just going to lay differently on the paper. And the three things you need to take into account when you're doing a rotation are the center of rotation, the degree, and the direction. And the two different directions we'll go in are clockwise and counterclockwise. So just keep those in mind. Clockwise goes down and to the right, counterclockwise down and to the left. So we're going to look at example one. We're going to identify our rotation. So when you do a puzzle and you turn the pieces so that they fit the right way, you are doing a rotation. So our directions say you must rotate the puzzle piece 270 degrees clockwise about a point. So those are our three things. The center is the point P, the degree is 270, and the direction is clockwise. So we're going to go down and to the right. So here's our point P. And 270 degrees is three 90-degree turns. So if you can picture your paper, like your note sheet, and it's up and down, and if you would turn it to the right, so it's on its side, and then turn it to the right again so that it's upside down. Turn it to the right one more time so it's gone 3/4 of the way around. So this open spot is going to help us decide which of our four options get us to that 270-degree rotation. So this open puzzle piece is going to turn 90 degrees, another 90 for 180, and then it's going to end up on the bottom, and that is our option C. So let's fill that in, and now we're going to move on. Pause the video and put the trapezoid onto your paper. Okay, so I have drawn the figure WXYZ. Now, it is telling us that we're going to do a 180-degree rotation about the origin. So we're missing the third piece. It's not telling us what direction, but 180 degrees, whether you go clockwise or counterclockwise, is going to take our quadrant 2 figure into quadrant 4. So that's why we're not given that third piece of information here. So I'm going to look at, this is my center of rotation, and I'm going to go point by point, and I'm going to start at the one that's closest to it. So Z is 1 point, 1 unit left and 2 up. And so when it turns, it's going to be 1 unit right and 2 units down. So we're going to put a dot there and make sure you call your new point z prime with the apostrophe. Now y is 1 point left and 4 up, so y prime is 1 point to the right and 4 down. So that's y prime. W prime is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 left, so W prime will be 4 to the right and 2 down. And excuse me, X is 1, 2, 3 to the left and 4 up, so 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3, and 4 down. And that's X prime. So I need to connect my points. And my trapezoid is the same shape, same size, it's just laying differently. So that means its orientation has changed. If I drew lines through these points and I measured from x to x prime, y to y prime, all of those lines would be straight lines, which are 180 degrees. So that's why we call that a 180-degree rotation. Now, I'm going to make a chart for W, X, Y, Z. I'm going to use the points that were given to me, -4, 2, -3, 4, -4. I'm sorry, -1, 4, and -1, 2. And now let's make a chart for W prime, X prime, Y prime, and Z prime. So our W prime is now at 4, -2. X prime is at 3, -4. Hopefully you're seeing a pattern here. Y prime is at 1, -4. And Z prime is at 1, -2. So see if you can write the rule for this. And I'm going to give you how we start the rules. So we're going to start with a given point, xy. What do we do to get our new point? See if you can write that rule yourself. In our next example, we are going to rotate. We're going to draw a triangle and we're going to rotate the triangle 90 degrees counterclockwise about a vertex. So 90 degrees counterclockwise, so that's going that way and about a vertex. So pause the video and you need to put those points on the coordinate plane. All right, so my points are on there. And this kind of rotation is a little different than the one we just did because instead of rotating about the origin, we're going to rotate about this figure L. So if we're going 90 degrees, it's like if we could cut this triangle out and put a pencil point on that L and just turn the J, K down, the L is going to stay where it is. So I'm going to put a new green dot there and call it L prime. Now, J and K are going to turn down, and I'm going to use the measurement of that side JL. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 figures. I'm sorry, 5 units. So I'm going to take my pen and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and put a dot there, and that's J prime. JK, that side length, is 3 units, so I need 3 units there. That is K prime. And now I'm going to connect them. And now, I'm going to use blue. You can see that from J to J prime, there's a 90-degree angle. From K to K prime, there's a 90-degree angle. Now, on our last example, we wrote a rule, and that was because we rotated about an origin. So we can't write a rule for this one. So what all I need you to do for this one is just write the coordinates of J prime, K prime, L prime. Okay, our last one is having us use more than one transformation. So we're going to have a figure, then we're going to have image 1, and then image 2. So let's start by graphing our figure. A is at -3, -3. A. B is at -1, -3. So it looks like we're going to be inside 2 different quadrants. C is at 1, -5. And D is at -3, -5. Okay, so we've got, oh, I need to label that D. We've got our figure. The figure is always what we start with. Think about when you look in the mirror, a transformation happens. That's a reflection, and what you see is your image. So the image is always the newly drawn shape on the coordinate plane. This time around, I'm going to give you the rule. So we have a rectangle that's going 90 degrees clockwise about the origin, and 90 degrees clockwise goes to the right. So it's like we could pick this up and turn it. So the A is going to come up and D, and then B and C will be on the bottom. So the rule for this one is to take our point, X, then Y, and our new points, the Y will switch to the X place, and that X will switch to the Y place, and it becomes negative. So A is at -3, -3, and so A prime is going to be at -3, +3. Now, it doesn't look like that the X values changed, but they did. So there's my A prime. D is at 1, -3. So those will switch spots. Oops, I wrote the wrong letter. Whoops. Okay, let's do B. Okay. B is at 1, -3. B prime. So the -3 will switch to the front, and it'll stay what it is, but the X value switches to the Y value and becomes its opposite. So it was +1, now it's -1. So that's where B prime goes. C is at 1, -5. So they flipped their order. That -5 that was in the Y spot moves to the X spot and stays what it is. The X value 1 moves to the Y value and becomes its opposite. So -5, -1 for C prime. And then I'm sure you guys can decide where D would be. D was at -3, -5, and we're going to switch. That -5 moves to the front, and or the X value, and the X value -3 switches to the Y value and becomes its opposite, so +3. So D prime. So I'm going to label that. Ooh, that doesn't look good. Let's fix that. I'm going to label that 1. Now, what you guys are going to do, since you haven't had many on your own, is the second transformation. You're going to reflect it in the y-axis. So let's just remind ourselves that our y-axis is here. That's our reflection point. And you're going to finish this by figuring out where A prime prime would be, where B prime prime would be, C prime prime, and D prime prime. So you're going to take the figure in blue and flip it over that y-axis. And remember when you flip